We are at google.com/flights. I love using Google Flights. I've been using it for years. It's completely free. It is not an OTA, it is a search engine for travel. And what I love about it is it's fast. It gives me a ton of information and lots of choices for filters. And then you'll also see that I have the Travel Arrow Flight Compare Chrome extension. And that's what we're going to use today to compare what Google Flights finds directly with airlines and some OTAs, and also on the OTA sites as well. So when you land on Google Flights, it's going to give you the choice to add round trip or one way. We're going to keep it simple and do round trip. Although sometimes, if you search for one way flights, you may be able to find something cheaper and you kind of will be able to like mix and match flights. So that's something to keep in mind. You can also filter between the class that you want to search. We're going to stick with economy. And then we're going to pick our departure airport. Now, if for some reason you don't want to put a specific airport, you can also just put the city. You can also add up to 7 different airports. So let's say I want to add Fort Lauderdale, I want to add Miami. You can also add more. And then let's say we want to go to, we could select anywhere, which is a cool option. But let's say I want to go to Seattle. And I don't really know which airport I want to fly into, so I'm just going to select Seattle. Google Flights will actually just search the airports that are in Seattle or nearby, whatever I think matches what you're searching for. And then I always like to go over to the calendar. I'm going to go ahead and reset the dates here. And what's great about the calendar view is that it will show you the pricing that the flights will start at. So this is a really great tool if you're not really sure when you want to fly to a destination. You can go ahead and just look at this calendar and find the cheapest routes. So let's see. So it looks like gets a little bit more expensive, but I started to see some green in the summer. So let's see. All right. So on June 4th, it's 206 round trip. Now, also, Google Flights will give you the total price, including the taxes for round trip, which is really nice. So I know that this is going to be costing me, let's see, let's pick the 7th. And we will hit search. So I know that this flight would be costing me $478 out the door with taxes and everything, which is really nice. Now, the next thing that I like to look at is all the filters. So we can filter by different stops. So I like to do nonstops only. I wrote a blog post about that, so definitely want to check that out. I could go on and on and on. And then if you want, you can select the specific airlines. Just keep it on all the airlines. Oh, also, one thing I wanted to show is the alliances. So, if you don't know what airline alliances are, real quick, it's basically the airlines have their own little club. So, you can, if you frequent a certain alliance, then you can search that here and filter for that. You can also search for bags, which is helpful if you know that you're going to have certain carry on bags, which I always need a carry on bag, and I don't want Google Flights to show me the fares that don't include carry on bags. So I'm going to go ahead and put one. And I also never check a bag, another blog post about that, and I won't go into that here. And then also price. So if you do have a tight budget, then you can go ahead and update the price here. I'm just going to leave it right here. And then you can also filter by time. So if you want to have your outbound flight in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, vice versa for your return, then you can also update that here. If you're concerned about emissions, then you can also filter by that, which is cool. And then also connecting airports. So you can pick the exact connecting airports that you want, or just leave it the way it is. And then it automatically filters everything. So it already filtered my flight choices, as you can see. The cheapest flight that it's showing here for my search results is $508, flying Delta out of Fort Lauderdale. So even though I did choose West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, it went ahead and took into account all of my filters and chose a flight out of Fort Lauderdale to Seattle. It's a nonstop flight because that's what I filtered for. It shows me the emissions. And then if I click on this arrow, it'll also show me a little bit more information about the flight, what the travel time is, the airline, what class, the aircraft, and the flight number. And then it also gives me the leg room, whether or not they have Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi. Good job, Delta. They also have in-seat power and USB outlets. Good to know, and live TV, and it also shows me the emissions. Now, another thing that I like to do is track my flight prices. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the dates that we selected. And then I'm also going to be picking any dates because I'm pretty flexible. Flexibility is really important, especially if you are trying to find cheap flights. So I like to put any dates and get alerts for that. So next thing I want to show you is the date grid. You can come here and look at the date grid and it'll show you the pricing for different days. So on Sunday, the date that I chose, it's 508, but if I wanted to fly Monday, it could be 418. Or if I wanted to fly Tuesday, it could be 468. And then if I click on the price graph, there you go. Then it shows me in a graph form what kind of pricing I may expect throughout June and July. So this is a really, really, really great tool, especially if you are, tight on budget or you just have like really particular filters. This is amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then the price graph, we already looked at that. So you can click on date grid or price graph. And then let's go over to Travel Arrow and click compare and see what these different sites will show us as far as pricing goes for the flights that I selected. All right, so let's look at Skyscanner. So Skyscanner also found the Delta flight for 508. It shows that it's see, it applied my filters. Thank you, Skyscanner. It shows the best flight is the Delta flight of 508. It's also the cheapest. It's not the fastest, but I mean, this is pretty negligible, so we're not even going to worry about that. And 907, no thank you. So since this isn't really showing me much of anything different from Google Flights, I'm just going to say bye to Skyscanner. And then we can look at trip.com. Trip.com is showing me a flight with Spirit and Alaska. And that's for 501, but it's showing me a stop. Yeah, so it's showing me stopping in Atlanta, and I don't want to stop. I want a non-stop flight. So no thank you, trip.com. And then we'll look at Expedia. And Expedia is showing me a cheaper flight with Spirit Airlines out of Fort Lauderdale. But again, it's showing me a stop. I don't want to stop. I want nonstop. So scroll down a little bit more. These all have stops. So, and then the nonstop, there's a nonstop flight out of Fort Lauderdale, 6:35, 10:22 p.m. I think that's actually the flight. Oh, yes. So it is the flight. So this is showing 508. And this is showing 506. $2 difference. I don't know. Let's see. So no seat choice. Carry-on bag is included. Price drop protection will refund the difference if the price drops before you fly. If I have to pay for that, I don't know, man. Um, I would just see. Let's do select. All right. And then, okay, so if I wanted it with the 506, then I would have to book with Spirit Airlines for the way back, and I'd have two stops. So, no, thank you, Expedia. I want a nonstop flight. And for $2 more, look, it's the same flight that is probably going to be showing me on Google Flights. So let's take a note of that. 7:54 a.m. nonstop for $2 more. And then for $7 more is the Alaska Airlines. If I wanted to fly two different airlines, which I'm not opposed to that, I'll book two one ways to make things easier directly with the airline. But for $7, I mean, like, and one's at 7:54 a.m. and the other's at 8:15 a.m. I mean, no. But thank you, anyways, Expedia. And then let's look at Kayak. So Kayak is showing me this no change fees $9.58, but okay, no thank you. And then it's also showing me a mixture of American Airlines and Alaska Airlines for $4.38. They're both nonstop flights, but if you look here, it's out of Miami, which I did choose Miami in one of my airports when we were doing the Google flight search. But I mean, I don't actually want to drive down to Miami um, for, saving a few bucks. So let's see. No, this is 603, 438, same situation, flying out of Miami. So, and then now it's showing the 508, but that's with Delta and Alaska. One's from Fort Lauderdale, and you fly back into Miami. So, I mean, I do think it's good that it's showing me different airline combinations. That is nice, and Google Flights does that sometimes too. Um, I'm not really sure why it wasn't showing us that, but we can go back and look. So let's go back to Google Flights and check what we have here. So, okay, so we have the Delta flight, which was the 508, and then we also have American 573, but that one's out of Miami, so I don't want to do that. And then Alaska is the Fort Lauderdale round trip, but that's 958. So no. And again, we could do Delta and Alaska, but I would only be saving a few bucks, I think. So no. Let's go ahead and just select Delta. Okay, so there's only one flight available with my search filters. So yeah, they only have the one nonstop with for both legs with my search filter. So Sunday, June 4th, 6:35 to 10:22 from Fort Lauderdale to Seattle, nonstop. And then Wednesday, June 7th, 7:54 a.m. to 5:10 p.m. That was the same flight that we saw before. I think it was on Expedia or Kayak. So this works for me. All right, so this is the different booking options with Delta. We're booking directly with Delta. Looks like basic economy for 508, no seat selection, main cabin 588, free seat selection. I mean, I don't really need to pick my seat for $80. That's not worth it to me. Standard seat, that's totally fine. Last to board, I don't really need to board early or anything, so I don't really need priority boarding. I'm not going to pay $80 for that. It does help with the overhead space for the carry-on. But I'm going to take my chances. And then ticket changes for a fee. Okay. Depending on how sure I am about taking this flight, I may want to pay $80 for free change, but no, not for this. Free carry on, which is what we filtered for, so we know about that. And then check in a bag. No, thank you. And then I'll scroll down and I'll look at the Google predictions for the prices. And it says 508 is typical for economy, and the least expensive flights for similar trips to Seattle usually cost between $275 and $550. So 508 is pretty typical. I mean, it's May 14th, and I would be looking to fly in June. So I don't really think that there's going to be a huge price drop here. So I'm going to go ahead and select basic economy. All right. So taking me directly to the Delta site, I can log in. And then, so I would be booking directly with Delta, which means I'll be able to, work with them if I need to make any changes, if I need to update the fare class, all that good stuff. And it's showing me the price. So it says 507.80, which Google rounded up to 508. And there's one left at this price. So if I was going to Seattle in June, I would need to book this right now. All right. So that is my process when I'm looking to book flights. There's also other amazing features with Google Flights. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this one other feature that I think you guys should really be aware of. So hold on. The other feature of Google Flights that I wanted to show you guys in this video is the Explore feature. And what I like about the Explore feature is that it basically shows you the map and will then show you the prices for certain date ranges on the actual map. So I think that's really helpful for people who don't know where they want to go, but they know they want to go somewhere and they know they don't want to spend a lot of money, and they want to find cheap prices or the best price. So I think that using the Explore feature and playing around with that is really fun. And what's nice about the Explore feature too, I mean, you can do all the filters as you would with the when you're searching for the flights the other way, but you can also do like travel mode, and you know, yeah, it's the same. And then if you select the destination, it'll also show you things to do. And then, the price predictions with the different flights, also hotel stays, when to visit, what people ask when they are searching Google for this destination. So I just think it's a really cool feature and something that you should definitely be checking out when you're searching for flights. I mentioned that OTAs and Google Flights won't show Southwest flights. But I mean, Google will sometimes show that there are Southwest flights available, but it's never going to show the price. So I always like to go and just check. And the Southwest low fare calendar is pretty cool. So let's do Fort Lauderdale. We were doing Fort Lauderdale. Let's go to the low fare calendar. Okay, so we'll do Fort Lauderdale, Seattle, June, search. Okay, so looks like we did the 4th. Looks like that's 463 one way. That's the thing about Southwest too. You got to keep in mind. Southwest prices their flights one way. So whenever you're looking at the pricing, it's only the one way. Um, this is a good and bad thing. It's really good when it's super cheap and you want to be able to mix and match flights. Like sometimes I'll fly one-way Southwest and one-way JetBlue. They both do the one-way pricing thing, and you're never going to find that a round trip flight is going to be cheaper than a one-way flight with Southwest and JetBlue. So, that's good to know. But when you're going from Google Flights to Southwest, you just got to keep that in mind. So it's 463 for one flight. So already this is pretty expensive. And then on the 7th, that's $300. So we're already looking at $762, which is like way more expensive than I want to pay. Um, and we haven't even looked at the flights yet, so I don't even know if they have nonstop. Now, Southwest does have the 2 bags fly free, but I always carry on a bag, so again, that doesn't really matter to me. Um, so we look at the flights. They don't have any nonstops. It looks like, yeah. So already this doesn't work for me, but Southwest isn't always going to be cheaper, but hey, sometimes they are really cheaper. And they do have amazing customer service. There's a lot of things you want to weigh, but for over $700, I'm good. I can fly with Delta. Delta's pretty good too. So